Because reading is what?
Fundamental.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Do You Read BTS? I'm Lisa.
And I'm Delize. Welcome back. We know it's been a long time and we definitely apologize for the delay, but there's just been a lot going on.
A lot.
Right. So we're getting there. We're doing better. We may be taking another hiatus for Lisa for the baby.
Yes.
But in the meantime, we'll talk about this story. It is called Sex Therapy by _Bangtan Love on Wattpad.
It's so good.
So good.
Like me and Delize have literally been holding on to this story and neither of us know why.
Right. And it was recommended.
Yeah.
And it was one of the ones we already had in our collection, but then it was recommended as well. So we're like, okay, now we have to read it. And I'm glad we did, because
yes, I don't know why we was holding on to this one.
Right. Oh, this one was good.
And it was by author that we have already been reading.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So the beginning.
So in the beginning of the story is a girl. You know, she doesn't have a name, so she's the girl. And she is newly married to a man that she loves so much, and they're in such a good place. Was in a good place, but she started complaining about their sex life.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, he just get on her missionary, do his thing, and he's out of there.
Yeah, and she always wants more. She wants him to try different positions, choke her a little bit, grab her hair, things like that, and he's not for it. So she's bored.
Which is weird because she was a virgin before that, so I don't know how she even know that unless she watching porn or something.
Well, she must have known she needed more because she wasn't getting her nut.
Yeah, that's true too.
But yeah, she's kind of over it with that, and she has this friend. Her husband's name is Shiro. 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 Okay. And she has this friend who is also married. The friend,
Jenny,
yeah.
Which Jenny is always in a story that we be reading, and she always bisexual.
Yeah. Well, this one, yeah. Or no, her name's not Jenny. Her name's Jisoo.
Well, it's still in one of the girls from Blackpink.
Oh, is she from Blackpink? Okay.
I think so.
All right, yeah. So I think she's married to I think Jisoo is married to Jenny or something. I don't know. Jisoo's married to somebody.
She's married to a woman.
Yeah. And so the girl is telling Jisoo, look, shit's kind of bad. I really want this, and it's really not happening. And so Jisoo's like, hey, girl, maybe you should go to sex therapy or see a therapist. And she's like, are you serious? They have those? And she's like, yeah, girl, go check it out. It's a sex therapist. She's like, this seems weird, but whatever. I'll try it out.
Mm-hmm.
You could already tell by just the story, this is going to be some mess.
Yes, honey.
So she finds this therapist and she goes to meet him.
Mm-hmm.
The therapist is Kim Tae-young.
With the blonde hair at this time.
With the blonde hair, correct.
Although I was not envisioning him with this blonde hair.
I wasn't either. I kept thinking of his hair being dark.
Yes, I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, what did you envision? Because the only thing I could think about is how his hair is now.
Yeah, I kept thinking of dark, exactly. The dark kind of wavy.
Yes,
yep.
long.
Yep, yes. Yep. That's exactly what I saw.
When in the book, when it pictured blonde, I was like, no, I can't picture it like that right now.
Yeah, I just changed his hair color in my head.
Right, even when they dyed the hair red.
Yeah.
It still was black to me.
Same here. I was like, well, that's cute. They dyed it black again. Cool. A darker shade. All right.
Right.
But yeah, so she's going to go see this doctor, Kim Tae-young. She asked if if the doctor's a man or a woman. And her friend's like, I don't really know, but just go see. And she's like, all right, cool.
Mm-hmm. And all she knew that it was Dr. Kim at that point, so she kind of thought it was a girl.
Right. And she was really hoping that it was a girl because she felt like it would be weird to talk to a man about her problems. And she was like, well, how is he going to know, what I'm feeling and what I'm going to need? So she gets there and she sees that it's Taeyong and she's like, oh, this is a guy and he's sexy as hell. This is
Yep.
awkward.
He was beautiful, honey. He was beautiful.
Right. They get started. She's kind of uncomfortable. She's real hesitant to really
Mm-hmm.
talk about anything, but he has her fill out a questionnaire.
Mm-hmm. And at first he's all professional and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started asking her these personal questions, and then he could tell that she was like holding back.
Mm-hmm. So I think there's a part where he's like, since you don't seem comfortable answering questions, how about I'll answer a question if you can ask me a question, I'll answer it, and then I'll ask you a question, and you have to answer it,
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. But he was surprised because her and her husband have only been married 6 months, and they're already having trouble with their sex life.
Right.
And
Which, if
he's
anybody ever been married, honey, after 6 months, you usually ain't having trouble in the sex area after 6 months. Like that's not a lot of time.
right. That's
Like,
not normally the issue. Is that what you're
right.
saying?
Like you going out of that 6 months still.
That's funny. I hope one day, Lord.
It'll happen, girl. It's gonna
Ah, Lord. So, oh yeah, so she tells us kind of like the background story about him, how she met her husband and how they got him together and all of that. And she she tells him that she was a virgin and that she had saved herself for him and all this other stuff. And he's kind of reading not only what she's saying but like her body language, and he's noticing just kind of how she's sitting and her hand movements and all of that. So she kind of shuts down a little bit, and so he does end up saying, write down 10 questions you want to ask me, and then all that. So she writes down these questions. In my head, I thought they were going to be like some like crazy questions,
happen.
but the first question was like, what's your favorite color? I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
But it was just to get her to open up.
Yeah, but that was what she asked him, because remember
Yeah.
he said he'll, so
Oh yeah. Yeah,
anyway.
they were preschool questions.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So she looks like I guess during the whole appointment they're going through this conversation, but she's kind of messing with her wedding ring, and she looks like super unhappy and just uncomfortable. And so he tells her like, I can tell you're not happy in your marriage, and she's like, no, I love my husband, what makes you say that?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, most women are so excited about their wedding rings and being married, and he's like, but you just seem really sad.
And
Like,
she was hiding her
damn.
wedding ring at that point.
Yeah, like that's
Like she had her hand down with her hand. Like, why are you hiding your beautiful, beautiful big wedding ring? Because how it's written is a nice little rock.
right. She seemed real, like in the beginning of the story, real coy,
Right.
real shy,
Timid.
real mild, yeah, timid.
Mm-hmm. I think it kind of happened pretty fast.
Yeah, because the rest of it is just like her and her husband having dialogue and him not really wanting to do anything with her, and she's kind of sad yet again. Because what he keeps telling her is like, oh, I have to work, I'm working all the time, blah, blah, blah. So she's at home the majority of the time by herself.
Right. Doing nothing.
Yeah. So she goes back to see uh, Dr. Kim.
And she's also excited about going to see him too.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Yes. And she doesn't really know why.
Mm-hmm.
So he tells her she can call him Taeyong, and she's like, that's a little unprofessional, but whatever. Anyway, so he's like, lay on the couch, we're gonna have you do this exercise. What I want you to do is do like a fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
And oh wait, was that the first one? That was the first time, wasn't
I
it?
feel like a lot happened in that first that first session, and that is why she was so excited to go back.
I think you're right.
Because if that first session, that's when he was like, imagine What would
Yep.
your husband be doing to you? What do you want him to do to you?
Yep, you're right. So he tried to have her do an exercise where where she did a fantasy exercise, and he's like, imagine your husband, imagine his lips or whatever, whatever. And she's like,
She can't imagine her
I can't
husband doing
imagine
that.
it. Yeah, she couldn't imagine her husband. She's like, I'm imagining you. And he's like, all right.
Yeah, he was like, well, imagine me.
Yeah, so he's like walking her through the steps, like, where am I touching you? How do my lips feel? All this other stuff. Things like get hot and heavy. She's like a little. Is this when she like grabs him, or is that the second one?
I'm thinking it's the second one. It might be the first one.
I think it is the first. Is it the
A
second
lot
one?
happened. A lot happened on the first time.
I know. That's
A
why I'm
lot,
like, wait.
a lot happened on the first time. Maybe it was the second one because
Yeah, I think it is the second time.
yeah, but she was imagining and she was getting all hot and heated and turned on and
Yeah, and he kept calling to her, but she wasn't responding because she was like in it.
yeah.
And then finally, she was like, "Oh, my bad."
Mm-hmm.
So the next time she goes in there, with that having already happened, he's like, "Let's do this again."
Yeah, and she's super excited about it, honey. And at this point, she ain't even thinking about her husband.
Mm-mm. It's because he doesn't do it for her. Like, he
Mm-hmm.
just doesn't. He hasn't really. When they do have sex, it's like whack, and
Yeah.
he's worried about him. He's not worried about her. He don't care. He
Even
don't really be
even when
there.
she asked him, she's like, "Let's do something different." He's like, "What do you want to do different?" She bending over, honey. She ready for the doggy style, which you know is my favorite.
Right,
She
right,
ready for the doggy style, so she bending over side. He was like, can we let's do it this way?"
right.
And she don't get off, and he get off, and he's like, "Oh, you were great." And she's like, I'm ready to go to bed.
Right. That sucks though. Like, if you're not with somebody that can please you, not saying like sex is like a huge thing, but like,
No,
make
no, no,
sexual
no, no, no,
compatible.
boo. No, 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 boo. Sex is a huge thing.
I mean, it is a huge thing, but
It's not
like
the
some
only
people make it,
thing,
that's
but
what I was gonna say. Some people make it like it's the only thing. It's not the only thing, but it is a thing.
yeah.
And if you're not compatible with somebody and then they're not willing to listen or try to work with you to do what you are asking of them, now I get it. Everybody has their limits. If you're talking about some kinky stuff that they're just not into, it's not their like safe zone, okay, cool. But if
But
you're
this
just
is your
asking,
husband. Like, if
yeah,
who, like, you have to be the closest, like the closest person you're with is your husband. So if you're gonna marry somebody, you gotta be pleased at least. Like you have to know what each person like. You know what I mean?
right.
Like you have to have some type of, how do you say it? You have to just know each other enough to know what each other like. You're gonna be with each other forever, hopefully.
And just
And
also be willing to try things out. Like,
exactly. Like like you got to be open enough to at least be like, look, this is what I like. Let's try this, and not feel
yeah,
shame about it. Like this girl
exactly.
felt shame about it. She didn't want to tell her husband that, oh, she felt this way. She didn't want him to feel like he was doing a bad job or nothing like that. And I feel like it's not about doing a bad job. It's about learning each other and what you like.
Exactly. And then he was feeling great and getting his nut off, and she was feeling unfulfilled and unsatisfied. Like,
But we know why
so
later on in the story.
yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So
So,
she goes back to Taeyong,
yeah, she goes
and
back to the office. Go ahead.
Taeyong's like, okay, let's go back into this fantasy and what you want to do. Now Taeyong's starting to feel it. We'll let you know why later. So they get
Oh,
into
side note, just want to mention this. She's at his office on a Saturday,
on a
which he
Saturday,
doesn't normally take clients on Saturdays, but she's there on a Saturday.
right?
Okay, go ahead.
And Taeyong is feeling some type of way because he don't usually take clients on Saturday, but he don't know why he's taking her on
Yep.
Saturday. She's different from everybody else.
Yep.
And so, she goes back. She can't wait to get to Honey. She dressing all cute for some. No. She didn't dress cute. She tried to dress down so she wouldn't feel like, because when she went home, the first visit, she was kind of dressed up kind of cute. And
Mm-hmm.
so she was like, oh, I'm feeling some type of way. So maybe if I dress down, I won't be feeling this type of way about it. So which didn't do nothing but turn him on even more because he
Mm-hmm.
liked her natural look. So she was like
Mm-hmm.
wearing like a big t-shirt and some shorts and her glasses and her hair up in a bun. Like she didn't have like I don't think she wore makeup or anything.
Mm-hmm. She went real cash.
Right. And so, he was like, let's get back into this, into your fantasy or whatever. And then I don't even think that she told him that her fantasy was him until this part.
No, no, no. She told him in the first session because in the first session he goes, "You wouldn't be the first one of my clients to fantasize about me."
Nuh-uh, this was the second one
Yeah.
because remember she was getting up to leave. And he
No,
was like,
girl.
why are you acting like that? Why is it me? Am
No,
I your
girl.
person? You don't remember?
No, in the second chapter, he tells her when she says to fantasize about her husband, she's like, I can't or whatever. She's like, I can't see myself kissing my husband in such a way.
Yeah, but he
And so
told her
then
to
he's
picture
like,
somebody else, but it
she
wasn't until the
does.
second part when
And,
he was like, remember she was getting up to leave? She
no,
was like,
no, because listen.
okay, I'm not
So
going.
he says, imagine somebody else, and then she's like, I don't know who to imagine then. And he says, imagine me, and she's like, oh my gosh, and she's like, it's just weird. He's like, I don't fit your type, and she's like, no, it's just weird. And he's like, you wouldn't be my first client to fantasize about me. And then the next thing he says is like, are we good to continue? She's like, yeah. He goes, okay, so we're kissing. How did my lips feel?
Oh,
That was the first session.
yes, it was good too. It was a good session. It was a good session. I was like, oh, I was just be doing all right. So, okay, maybe you're right, man. I don't know. Maybe I thought something was different.
Mm-mm. I don't know what was different about the second. Well, I know what was different about the second visit because as they were doing. Oh, go ahead.
As they was doing that fantasy, like he was over there where she was.
Right,
And
because he
then
was
she
like,
stopped pulling at his clothes, honey.
yup,
And he
yup.
was like, you're married. What do you do when you married or whatever?
Yeah, because she was on the couch and she was starting to, I think, unbutton her shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was like sitting there like, okay,
Because she was
but he
all
didn't
into
stop
it.
her.
She was
Yeah,
all
and
into it.
and then she starts to take her or pull her bra down and he hops up and he grabs her, but she thinks it's the fantasy still.
Right. Which I'm like, really, girl?
And he's like telling her, wake up, and she's like, no, not yet. I'm like, girl.
I'm like, if you hypnotized, like, what is he doing? Like,
Right. And she's telling him to touch her and he's like, you're married, this isn't real.
mm-hmm.
Lord.
But then after all that, didn't she jump on? She was like, oh, I'm sorry. Starting putting her clothes on. And then he was like, I thought this was the time when he was like, why are you acting like that? And she was like, because he was like, what are you envisioning? Me? Like, I thought that's how it went down because it was hot and heated for a minute and she was about to leave and not ever come back.
Well, no, because so this she was not gonna come back because of how real it got. But he was like, "It's your fantasy," and she tells him that she wishes it was real. And then
Mm-hmm.
he's like, "I think that's enough for today." He's like, you should probably try to do this at home." And he gave her his card to like if she ever needed to schedule an appointment or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he's pretty much like, I'm sure your husband's waiting for you. And she's like, yeah. And that was it. But she was uncomfortable because of all that went down. But he already knew that he already knew that she was envisioning him from the first visit.
She was super horny.
Girl, poor
She,
thing has been like
baby,
deprived, low
she
key.
was backed up.
Yeah, seriously, poor thing.
And so, but they still was scheduling that next appointment, wasn't they?
Yep. And let me just drop this little thing in here real quick. So when she gets home, her husband's on the couch or whatever, and she like goes to take her clothes off, and she knows her panties are soaked, which is like never happened. She's like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Like, what's this creamy stuff? I'm like, really, girl?
Has no clue because it's never happened before. And I think she ends up like going to the bathroom and taking care of business.
No, because he told her to touch herself on one of them. Remember? When she
Yeah.
left this time, he was like telling her to touch herself.
Yeah, she does.
I think
Doesn't she?
I think that's the part we forgot to mention. That was like her homework assignment. Like, go home, touch yourself, see how I feel. Like,
Oh, yeah,
she's never
yeah.
done it
Yeah, yeah.
before. But her panties
Yeah.
was wet, and she's like, oh, let me see what this be like, you know?
Right.
And so, yeah. And
Yeah.
that's when she was in the shower. And what didn't her husband come in?
Yeah.
And then he didn't even like look at her. She's like wanting him to look at her, look at my naked, beautiful body. Because how
Right.
it's described in the story, she not bad. She like
Yeah.
she's a bad girl. You know, she cute. And
Yep.
so he wouldn't even like look at her, like her body. She
It,
was like, why he won't even look at me?
exactly. Which she was the only reason he even came into the bathroom is because when she was taking care of business, she was envisioning Taeyong and she envisioned him behind her, and it like freaked her out because it wasn't her husband's face, and she stumbled and she fell.
Yeah.
And that's what prompted her husband to come in the bathroom in the first place.
Yeah. And then when he came in there, he was had his head down. How you gonna
Yeah.
be my husband with your head down?
Right. And so she wanted to she before all this happened, she asked him to take her on a date, and he was like, "Yeah, yeah, we'll do a date." So now he's like, "Oh, I got to go to work. We can't do the date. Maybe some other time."
And she like, really? And
And
so
she's like,
that,
"You were supposed to be off. Like, what do you mean?"
yeah, she was all looking forward to this day because at this time
I
she all up into her. She
know.
still loved her husband. She's still into him. You know what I'm saying? But she just don't understand their problems.
Mhm.
And she was like, okay, well, you know where do you? And I'm gonna call Mr. Kim.
So we got like a side. Well, I can't say a side story. The story's going along with her story as well and their story, but Taylor's got his own shit. So apparently, as a sex therapist, one of the big things that he was doing was fucking married
Yeah.
women, and so that he got one chick that was like attached to him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like there. It kind of the next like scene, I guess, is him like leaving his office, and this woman is coming after him, not like trying to hurt him or anything like that, but just she's wanting to see him because she's been trying to call him, trying to come to appointments, and she's been ignoring him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, "How's your husband?" and all that. And she's like, "I just want to come over and all this stuff." And he's like, you're not divorced. Like, she's like, "But we're separated." He's like, "You need to go away."
Yeah, and she was just like, oh, you weren't thinking about that before. He was like, yeah, that's before I knew you had a crazy husband that was trying to run me down, and you got kids.
And you got kids.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a part that's in the same like chapter is after he leaves that lady, he goes home and he says, "Hi, beautiful," and kisses a woman on the cheek.
Mm-hmm.
You don't ever, I mean, you do know, but like for this part of it, you're like, who the hell is this woman?
Yeah,
Does he have his own wife at
right.
home? Like,
That's
what is
how I was thinking. I
this?
was like, wait a minute, like, why this woman
Girl.
always at home? Like, and why she don't never say nothing about him never being at home? He spent a good amount of
Exactly.
time in his office, honey. Like a good amount of time.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm thinking that
yeah.
office, like in my head, I'm picturing that office being so comfy because
I
it's just
know.
so much time in that office.
Because he was sleeping there sometimes, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I know that thing was nice,
Right.
real lush.
But I'm also thinking, dang, I bet you he smashed a lot of holes on that couch.
Yes, girl. I wonder if they had like a cleaning crew that came in. I know they
Right.
was probably like, this is disgusting.
Right.
Oh man.
So,
Um.
but yeah, so
Oh, wait. So where Tay lives, he's talking to this woman that lives with him,
mhm.
and they're kind of having conversation, and she's like,
That was.
wait.
I thought that was the end of the conversation. He was like, "You need to go on because you married and you got kids."
Well, yeah, he did end that conversation, and he's talking to the lady that he lives with. But remember, he goes home,
Oh,
and
he
he
goes home
hears
and he goes outside on the porch
and he
drinking a
sees the
beer.
next door neighbor. Yeah, he sees the next door neighbor, and she's chatting up, waiting for her boo to come over.
Mhm.
And the guy's on the phone talking,
With
and
his
he
wife.
says, with his wife, he says the girl's name that just came to see him for therapy. He says a name and he's like, oh, I'm at work right now. It's busy. As he's walking over to the other lady's house, who happens to be Tay's neighbor, like across the street neighbor. So that's apparently her boyfriend.
So after he's seen that, then Tay knows who he is because he mentioned the girl's name. And then automatically he was like, you know what, I'm not even feeling bad no more. Because he stopped her from what she was doing. Remember, she was tearing off all his clothes and stuff like that. And he was like, you're married. And he didn't want to go down that road with her. But then now, after he seen what he was doing, her husband, what Shiro was doing, he was like, you know what? She too good for that.
She will be mine.
Right. I'm about to take that.
Something I wanted to mention too is Tay is watching Shiro across the street with Miss Cho, which is his girlfriend. And the guy and him link eyes and he goes, hey, I haven't noticed you. Like, are you her boyfriend? And the guy's like, oh no, I'm just her friend or whatever. And so they introduce themselves to one another. So he knows his name and Shiro knows Tay's name now.
Right.
I just want to put that out there because it's important. And so Tay tells Shiro, like, you're going to lose her, man. And he's like, what are you talking about?
Yep, sure does.
And the guy just leaves. He's like, whatever. And then pretty much Tay decides again, like, yeah, she's going to be mine.
Yep. After that, I guess she goes back to that session. Or what she does is she's hoping that she's lonely. He's not there. Her husband's not there.
Yeah.
So she goes to the office hoping that he's going to be there. And he just happened to have that light on.
Right.
And so she goes and he's like, what are you doing here, basically?
Right.
And so then she goes there and she's like, oh, I was hoping we could have a session, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, okay, come on in, basically. And he decides at that point, he was like, all right, let's have this fantasy be real, but it's just a fantasy.
Right. One more thing. Sorry, I forgot to mention this. So after the whole Shiro and Tay interaction, the girl tells Jisoo, her friend, about the therapist. And one of the things that she says is, Shiro would never touch another woman. He would never do that to me. Okay. So yeah, they see each other and they decide to do the fantasies but make it like real. But it's just a quote unquote fantasy.
Right. But
this was a setup.
It was real. It was real. It was real.
Yeah. And she went again to this visit real casual. She had her hair in a bun. She had her glasses on. She had, I think, shorts on.
And I think, so, and then, okay, we'll go ahead. So,
he tells her she looks different, and she's like, oh, like she starts to get kind of self-conscious because her husband always is like, he doesn't ever call her beautiful. He doesn't ever compliment her. That's what I was going to say,
but I was going to wait till she got back home because that's when he noticed that she was wearing her glasses, and then he was like, you need to wear your contacts, not your glasses and stuff.
Yeah, so Tay, when he was like, you look different, she's like, oh, you don't mind, right? And he's like, no, I like this much better. So he was like pretty much saying like, yeah, you look great.
You look beautiful anyway. Period.
Yeah. And then what you were saying, she goes home and her husband's like, oh, you need to wear your contacts. Yeah, I don't like your glasses.
Yeah. But so she goes and they just decide that this is going to be a real fantasy. Like this is going to happen. I'm going to show you what your husband should be doing.
Now, he asked her about something about, or no. I guess they had a few questions, and he was like, how's the fantasy exercise I told you to do? How's that been going? And she's like, I've been practicing, but it's not going right. And he's like, have you been touching yourself? She's like, yeah, but it's not going how it's supposed to be. And he's like, well, what do you mean? And she's like, my husband isn't a part of the fantasies. And he's like, well, who is? And that's when she's like, that's when he figures out, oh, it's me, part of the fantasies that she was practicing on at home. Yeah. And she's like, this is wrong. And he's like, nah, girl, it's fine.
Yep. And plus, he already know about their husband anyway.
Yep.
So
Sorry, my voice just
baby,
cracked
in this
really
session,
bad.
it goes down in this session after they decided this is what they were gonna do.
Right. And
It goes down.
it goes
And it
down.
was good.
It was good.
I mean, it was real good.
And he flat out says, this is the best freaking line. If your husband won't please you, I will.
Yep.
Yo,
And
that's terrible,
he
but my
did.
gosh.
And she
And he
and she
did.
came twice.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time he ate her out, and he don't even like doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And she came then, and then they had sex. And she
Mm-hmm. And it was all like everything that she had envisioned more. She got everything that she had never felt was happening with him. And he was just pretty much telling her, like, you deserve this. He's a fool. Pretty much saying all the right things, you know?
mm-hmm.
He's giving her the business and she is living for
Yes,
it.
because she don't
And
get. Not only is she not getting that at home, the sex, she's not getting those words either.
yeah.
So she's feeling some type of way because he's actually making her feel good physically and emotionally.
Yeah. So as they were getting ready, when stuff was really, really about to go down, somebody knocks on the door.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's outside the office and she's like, oh crap. She grabs her stuff and she's like getting ready to leave. And the lady walks in and she's like wanting to talk or whatever. Or she's wanting to talk and the girl leaves.
Oh, because it didn't go down, did it?
It didn't.
He just ate
It
her
started
out.
to, yeah. It started to like stuff was like getting ready because like shit was like
She was ready.
getting ready to happen.
Yes,
Yeah.
but he did eat her out, right? But not
Yes.
the second
Yes.
part.
No.
Okay. So
Wait, did he?
I think he ate her out, and they was getting ready to get down, but the person knocked on the door, and then she was like, "I gotta get out of here," and she dipped out,
Yeah.
and then
Did he eat her out of this one?
I think so because it was her first night ever.
I think you're right.
And then, but it made her so ready for that next session, honey. That on that Saturday, remember she kept saying that Saturday we'll do a Saturday.
Yeah. Yep.
And so she goes home, and that's
So
when Cheryl was like, "Why you got your glasses on? You look so much better with your contacts on." And he was making her feel bad.
like ugly.
Yeah, and
Yeah. He's
Taeyong
like,
had
I don't
already
like
been making
it.
her feel really good about herself.
More ways than one.
Right.
And so when he tells her that, like, oh, I don't think your glasses look good, she's like, well, a lot of people think they suit me. And he's like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, he was like, I think they're just being nice. I don't think they really feel like that or something like that. I'm like, what a jerk.
Right. And didn't she try to have sex with her husband that night?
Mm-hmm.
And it was whack again.
I think they did. And then he bold-faced lies to her. Oh, I'm going to have to work more. I've been trying to hold this a secret, but they gave me a promotion, so I'm going to have to work more often.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be gone a lot more. So she's like, you're never home. Like, what the hell?
Mm-hmm.
And then he tells her, you're my wife. You're supposed to please me just like I please you.
Yeah, she looking at him like, okay.
Yeah, like, first of all, you can't even. So.
Right. But she ain't telling him that.
Right. And then, so they get in this little argument and he leaves. And you already know where he's headed.
Right. And then when he head there, and when he get into the argument with her, guess who's sitting out on his porch? Taeyong.
Mm-hmm. So she goes ahead and calls that good old number.
Mm-hmm.
She's apparently the only person that has his cell phone number, like the only patient that has his cell phone number. Mm-hmm. And so he's telling her that, oh, I got into a fight with my husband, and she's pretty much telling him, like, she don't want to talk about it, but I guess do they talk anyway?
I think they just conversated over the phone. Like at that point, they were just like talking and texting each other.
Yeah. And she asked him about his day. It was really weird because he's like, nobody really asked me that, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then he tells her, tries to kind of give her like a out, and is like, hey, I'm sure your husband's coming home soon. And she's like, he's not coming back. And she said, when we argue, he stays at a friend's place.
Mm-hmm. And Taeyong like, I know.
And he knew he just saw him walk into Miss Cho's house.
Right.
Choi's house.
Mm-hmm.
So sad.
Right.
So sad. After that,
I,
she ends up going. I think she ends up going to see him.
I think they
Oh no.
scheduled it for that Saturday, and she make it there on that Saturday. Like that was the time they were really going to have sex.
Yeah, because this time she was like making sure she was together because she had a thong on, a bra, her cute bra, some stockings. She was
Mm-hmm.
like ready for it. Had a little skirt on.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like super early and she didn't want to be at home because she was going to think about it and not probably go. And she was like, this is.
She went early and knocked on that door because he was there. And he
Right.
was like, you're a little early.
Right. And he's always asking her about her husband. And she's like, oh, he works late. And Tay's just looking at her like, girl,
Mm-hmm.
you don't even know.
Exactly. So,
What happens after that?
honey, it was about to go down. And he was like, let's get back into your fantasy. And he starts showing her everything that her husband should be doing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it was good too, girl.
It
This
sure
was some
was.
good detail smut, y'all.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it really was. I was just thinking about it.
Yeah, I am too. I'm like, man, I had to take a moment of silence for that one, girl. I was like, yep.
Yes, it was good. And she
And
was
he
like
tells her,
talking her through it. Like
he was talking, that's exactly what I was going to say. He was talking her through it, and he was like, are you ready? And she's like, for what? And he's like, your first orgasm. She's like,
yes.
what the fuck? He was so good with her. He talked her through it like it was her first time. I mean, it was kind of her first time,
Yeah.
like being pleased. So,
And of course we all know that the myth and the legend is Taeyong is packing. And in this story it's written like that.
mm-hmm.
So
Mm, 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 mm.
yes, Taeyong.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yep.
I bet he is like this though. All
So
passionate.
I was watching some videos and I'm like, maybe he is. I could see it.
Yes, because honey, he can he can switch it out. He can switch it out in a minute. Now listen, now y'all, you know how I feel about he be trying to cry sometimes. Be crying because he's
Yeah,
emotional. But honey, he was switching on you in a minute in a Playboy way.
but I don't know, and that's the thing I have a hard time with, right? Because I don't know if it's him, like if he would actually just because of how we see him, or if I can't get out of this screen, or if oh my gosh, this is killing me, or if he's just like has like a really good stage personality. Like some people can turn it on, but like their regular like personality is like real kind of like reserved
He
and
is an actor.
yeah, so I don't know if he would be like really like that, or he might be like that because it looks like in person he's kind of like shy and really like kind of to himself in a way, like he just be kind of doing his own thing. Maybe when it gets behind closed doors, it'd be going down.
Exactly. He might be a freak behind closed doors, honey.
I listened to this one video of him. He was talking to JK and he was telling JK to get off the V Live and he says something and his voice is mad low. I had my headphones in, girl. It was like the sexiest thing I've ever heard. I don't know what he said, but I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
His voice got mad deep and it sounded like a song low key. I was like, oh my gosh.
Girl, you know what I think about, honey? Are you calling me a sinner? That's all I think about
Yes,
him
girl.
saying that because it's the sexiest thing ever.
It was like deeper than that though. Like it was deep. Whew. Remember, I think I was telling you. I ended up watching some videos of him talking just so I could get the voice for when I was like reading this. I'm weird. Anyway,
No,
sorry.
that's not weird. That is what we army do. Okay,
girl. I'm like, I need this to be as real as possible. I want to hear it.
Right, and so you can envision it when he was talking to her while reading this story.
Exactly. Okay.
So it goes down.
So it goes down. Shit's bomb. She's like, wow, this is amazing. Then they end up finishing. They kind of look around. She sees a picture of his friends. It's all the boys. So that's how they are kind of like incorporated into the story. And I can't remember, was I think Jin and Namjoon, is it this story? Yeah, Jin and Namjoon are married, and Yoongi and Jimin are married or dating. And I think JK is also married.
Yeah.
To somebody.
JK married to another woman.
Okay, yeah.
Which is, it's me. So, anyway.
So
it was me. It was me, okay?
Yeah. So I don't know what happens, how they end up leaving one another, but
we're gonna have to skip ahead because this story is so long. They
Yeah.
freaking end up having a bunch of them sessions, and like they end up talking a lot and texting each other a lot, and then like they notice they're both getting super close to each other. And like
oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna skip back and say like she was at home with Shira that time, and he told her to go to the door.
Oh my gosh. The nerve and the ball. He had balls for that, for real.
Yes.
And she opened the door, and there was a big old thing of flowers out on the door.
Right.
That he got for her.
And
husband
then,
home and all.
Right. Husband at home. And so then the card falls out of the flowers, and he was like, "You deserve this, blah, 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 blah." She hides the card and brings the flowers in, and that's when Cheryl was like, "Who sent you these flowers?" Blah, 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 blah. But Taeyong's so smart, he knew he was going to be looking for that card. And so he finds the card, and it says sample bouquet or whatever. And he doesn't like suspect nothing. But at that time, she's like done with her husband. Like her and Taeyong been hot and heavy. They've been like into it, like texting and talking all the time. So she's just like, I'm done with my husband. I'm not feeling the same way. It's just not going right with me and him. Like she was just pretty much checked out by then.
Right. So after the flowers, I think it was kind of something that made Cheryl like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this is kind of like somebody's eyeing my woman and I need to get on it. So he stays home that day.
Yeah.
And she's like, why is he here? Like super irritated. I don't know why he's here. This absolutely sucks. Well, this is when we find out that Shiro has not only been stepping out on her, but the person that he's been stepping out with is his boss.
His boss lady, honey.
Oh my gosh.
Because at this point we didn't know that I knew he was stepping out, but we didn't know that it was his boss that he was stepping out.
Yeah.
So
we just thought it was some random lady.
Right. So they sitting down eating, and he's getting these texts from the boss, and it's coming up boss on his phone. And she wants him to come in. He was like, "Oh, I'm not coming in today, blah, blah, blah." And she was like, "Oh, why not?" And you over there bored, basically.
Right.
Because Shiro really is feeling the same way that she does. But he was basically saying she doesn't satisfy him.
Right.
Which was crazy because she wanted to try different things, but he did.
Right.
But he wanted to try the different things with his boss.
Right. He didn't want to do it with her because this is what they end up telling in the story later on. Everybody feels like she's like this mild-mannered girl who doesn't like know, real innocent and all that. And so when she's saying she wants these things, everybody kind of disregards what she's saying, even though that's what they're valid.
Yeah.
And so he felt like she was like too goody-goody to do any of the stuff that she was asking for, I guess. But yeah, so that night when he's texting the boss, he wants to have sex, and she's just like, ugh.
Yeah, she was like, I'm done.
The worst.
I didn't have some good sex too. I don't want to go back to that whackness.
And he actually tries. He tries some things, and then he ends up stopping, I guess.
No, it was the time where like they was trying to have sex, but then like she was trying to do more, and he was like, "What is going on with you? Like, why are you trying to do all this extra?"
Yeah, and she's like, "I'm trying to do something you can't," and then that was.
Then they stopped.
Pretty much it.
They stopped. They didn't even have sex like that.
Yep, and so she leaves. So she's pretty. I mean, she pretty much goes off on him about not being there and how he treats her, and she's really like come into her own during this time that she's been seeing Taeyoung.
Uh-huh.
She's really become like more confident. She's more
Right.
like sure of herself. So she like goes off on Shiro and telling him about himself, and she books it, and she calls Taeyoung.
Right.
So I don't know what happens after that.
Of course, Taeyeon gonna take her in, honey, in that office.
She had been crying or whatever, and she doesn't want to talk about it.
They just have sex.
I think they do have sex, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that goes on a couple times. They get closer. The lady, I forgot the lady's name. She kind of pops up every now and again, trying to cause drama, and is noticing the change in him, and it's like, oh, is it that girl that's causing these changes? And he's like, I mean, so what if it is? Like, I don't want you anymore. Like, I need you to leave me alone. You're married. Go live your life with your husband and your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And she pretty much is like, you always do this. You always go after married women because you can't commit all this other stuff. And
But Taeyeon
I
was
don't.
actually really having feelings for her.
Yeah, he actually had feel, and the girl was already knew she was starting to feel things about him kind of early on.
Mm-hmm.
But she was trying to like keep them at bay, and he was feeling things, but he didn't know how to interpret them because he's never been serious with the woman before. Everybody that he's dealt with has been married because he knows he couldn't commit, and
Right,
he
because
feels
of the
like
backstory to
back.
the
That's exactly what I was
backstory.
gonna
It's
say.
a backstory to the backstory, remember?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
the backstory of to the backstory is his mother was involved with somebody else. His mother got caught with somebody else. Basically, his dad was like the sweetest person ever, caught them, but stayed with her, and then until one day he just could not take it and he committed suicide. But he told her to not. He told Taeyeon to never feel this way about your mother. Love your mother no matter what. Blah 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 blah. But Taeyeon watched his daddy shoot himself.
Right. And ever since that, he's felt some type of way, and he felt like married women were like just horrible because he had that picture of what his mom did to his dad.
Right.
So he never took women seriously. He felt like they were all liars and
Mm-hmm.
cheaters. He just didn't have nothing for them except to dick them down. Um,
Right.
but he was really developing these feelings for this girl, and he didn't know how to unpack those feelings.
Right.
So flash forward, I think he's talking to JK or something, and he's telling him, like, I think he's kind of telling him about the girl
Mm-hmm.
or about the situation, and he's like, well, you care about her or something like that, and he's like, I don't know, blah blah blah. He's like, no, but I do. I think about her, blah 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 blah. And I don't remember what happens that it comes out that, oh, wait. So at some point we go to Miss Choice and Shiro, and we find out that Miss Choi is pregnant.
Pregnant, honey.
And so Taeyoung happens to be home again and sees Shiro, and I guess him and Shiro talk, and somehow it comes up that he has a baby on the way or something like that.
So Shiro and Taeyeon have such a weird like relationship. Like Taeyeon know what's going on with Shiro, his wife, and Miss Cho
Mm-hmm.
because they're like neighbors, but Shiro doesn't know anything about Taeyeon and his wife.
Right. So now Taeyoung has that also in his back pocket.
Right, and Shiro's sharing this information with this freaking neighbor, like he know him for some crazy
Right.
reason.
And Taeyoung keeps telling him, like, you gonna lose your wife, like she don't deserve this. I think at this point he's like, look, she's been coming to me for therapy. You need to tell her before I do, type of thing.
No, they never. He never knows that she does that until like even till they get to that party. He never knew that they had a thing.
Wait, what party?
To the anniversary party years later.
Oh, oh, oh,
He
oh,
never
oh, okay,
knew.
okay,
He
okay, okay.
never knew that him
Ah,
that Taeyong and the girl had anything happen
okay, you're right, because that was a different story I read.
to
um,
him.
that's what I get.
No, he never knew, and he basically was sharing all this information with Taeyong like he was his friend. So when he seen Taeyong sitting on the porch, he, you know, went to talk to him. He was like, "Oh, she's pregnant." Blah blah blah. She did she know? Did Taeyong know she was pregnant before the girl?
Yeah, he knew all the business before the girl, and so I think this is the thing. He knew he was cheating. He felt some type of way, but he was like, "I'm gonna make her mine." But then when he found out homegirl was pregnant, he was like, "All right, I
Yeah.
gotta say
He was
something
like,
to her."
you need to tell." No, he told her, "You need to tell her."
Well, that prompted him to Taeyong to tell her, but the girl didn't believe him. She called him a liar and all this other stuff, and then he went off because he was feeling some type of way that he was called a liar and was like, "Well,
Yeah.
you just a quick fuck anyway," and blah
Oh
blah blah blah
yeah, he
blah blah
went
blah.
off on her, honey. He was like, "You
Yeah,
not finna tell me I'm lying." But Taeyong shouldn't have held that information so long.
yeah, he
He
shouldn't have
knew
held
the
it.
whole time that she was messing with the old girl, Miss Trap.
Right.
And
So when she goes home after that, she's like in tears or whatever, and then her and Shiro end up getting into it because I'm skipping like a bunch, but we've been talking about a bunch
yeah, but
anyway.
we like 40 minutes in, and we hadn't even
Yeah,
got to like
yeah,
it's still deep.
yeah. So, so he tells her. By this point, Taeyong and the girl have been seeing each other like a lot, and they've been hanging out, they're getting coffee, all this other type of stuff. Well, so when he told her that, and she called him a liar, and he went off on her, she left, and they didn't like talk to each other. Well, she was upset,
Yeah,
and she
because
got
he
back to the
really went
house.
off on her like big
Yeah.
time. Like you ain't nothing to me.
And she felt worthless because she really felt like she was something special to him because I
Which
think
she was, but in his head, he was still in denial about her being that special to him. Because as soon as that happened, honey, he went back to the old girl with the two kids and the husband.
exactly. So I don't remember how it happened and what prompted it, but Cheryl ended up telling her that he had stepped out on her.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, she
That's
asked
because
him, and he was
Taeyeon
like,
told him he needed to go tell her the truth.
true. And she asked him and he lied. And then she asked him again and he, like, I guess they talked about it, and he
Mm-hmm.
was like, "You're not gonna whatever." He told her the truth, and she started crying. But I don't remember if he told her she was pregnant.
Yeah, he told her she was pregnant and everything. Then she left and went to go stay with her best friend.
That's right. That's right. So homeboy was at the house crying and, "Oh, don't leave me. Oh, I'm so sorry. We can be better, blah blah blah."
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Peace out, dude. I'm going to be at my homegirl's house. You do your thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, congrats on your baby."
Right, and at
So,
this way, she feeling some type of way because she didn't got into it with Taeyeon, and
exactly.
now she was into it with her husband, and so that's
And
all
he was
happened.
right the whole time, but he still messed up because he said all that other stuff about her.
Yeah,
So they didn't talk, and Taeyong felt some type of way, so he banged it out with everybody he possibly could. And his
yeah,
friends
he
saw
went
him
back to his
spiraling.
old self, but all his friends knew when he was with this girl that it was different, and
Mm-hmm.
now he going back to the old Taeyeon. He just hitting up all his clients. He's just screwing them basically. He's supposed to be a sex therapist, but he really just sexing them all.
Right. They ain't getting no therapy.
Yeah, right.
So he starts drinking a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
So we find we find out later. I don't remember at what point we find out, but we find out later that this woman because there was a point too that um somebody calls his phone and it's a woman. They're asking about him, and she's like, "Oh, I should have assumed that you had somebody," but he doesn't ever tell her who the lady is that is at his house.
Oh
He
yeah,
never
because
says it
it's that night when she spent the night. That night, the girl spends the night at the office. Remember?
at the
And
office.
then
Yeah.
he was like, "Oh, you want to go get breakfast or whatever?" Oh, this was after they reconnected back. Remember?
Oh, that's right. I skipped way
Yeah,
ahead.
they reconnected back after all this stuff, and then her friend was like, "You need to go talk to him. You obviously feeling some type of way about him, or whatever." So then they like kind of talk it out, but he don't say like his like backstory, and he basically was like, they had a, they had went back to the office, did what they did, and like she was like, "I'm done with Shiro," like and all this stuff. And he was like, "Oh, you want to go have some breakfast and stuff?" And they was like, she was wanting to go to his house. And he
Right.
was like, no. And she was like, oh, I should assume you had somebody and all this stuff.
And he was trying to explain to her like it's not like that, but he couldn't bring himself to tell her exactly why because he felt some type of way with all of his baggage.
Because the
So
backstory to the backstory to the backstory, he was ashamed of his mama because when his mama had that affair, she got AIDS or HIV,
mm-hmm.
and so he was taking care of her, and she was sickly.
Mm-hmm. So that's the woman that's been living with Taeyong. She's very sick. I don't even think his friends knew that she had HIV. I think they just thought she had
No, they
cancer.
just thought that he was really ashamed of his mama, and they was like, why you treat her like that?
Right.
They didn't even Taylor was not even an open book to his friends. He
Right.
ended up telling them.
Yeah, because he was having a breakdown. And he started crying about it, and then
Yeah, because they
because
had to
him
have
and
an
Jimin,
intervention because he was drinking so bad.
right, and him and Jimin are like the closest, and he was crying, and he eventually was like, "Look, this is what's going on. My mom, this and that," and they were like, "Hey, man, you really need to get it together because this isn't healthy." And so then, okay.
But JK is the one that noticed he is not right because remember he went to the part with JK and his daughter.
Yeah, and they got into it, and he was like, he pushed. Yeah, it was a
Yeah, they
mess.
got into it, and then he called the girl with the two kids.
Mm-hmm. And she came and picked him up from the
She came and picked
from
him
the
up from the park,
park.
went to the parking lot, got his rocks off, and basically was like, drop me off in my office.
Right, and she
Yep.
did. Crazy. So um so after her and Shiro are done, she's like, we're gonna do this divorce thing because I'm not doing this no more. But her and Taeyong aren't talking right now, and so she's like, I'm gonna get me a job. Well, Hobie owns a restaurant.
Uh-huh.
Wait, am I mixing up stories?
No, no,
No,
no,
I'm
you're
not.
not.
No, I'm not.
But
Okay.
but we skipped the part where this is an important part now because she broke up with Shiro, but they weren't divorced all the way yet. She was getting the divorce papers. They had the divorce papers. They met up at a restaurant for them to sign the divorce papers. She ended up telling her truth, telling Shiro.
That's right. Oh,
Mhm.
that's right. Ooh, that made me so
Yeah,
mad.
she ended up telling her truth. It's like, oh, I can't be that mad at you, even though you have a baby on the way. Oh, he didn't even tell her he had a baby on the way
That's
until
what I was
then.
thinking. She
Okay,
found
so we
out
didn't know he.
after. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, y'all. She didn't know about the baby until she was signing divorce papers. All she knew is that he'd been cheating on her. So then they meet up
Right.
to sign these divorce papers, and she was like, "I got to tell you my truth because I've been doing this, and you've been doing this." And but he tells her he had a baby on the way. She was like, "Congratulations."
She was real chill
Yeah,
about
she was
it.
like, congratulations, I guess, but let's sign these divorce papers. By the way, this is what I was doing on the side. And then he was like, I can't believe you had me thinking I was doing wrong. You that like
I could not believe that.
yes, she was like, I knew this was gonna happen. It was okay for you to do it, but as soon as I did it, oh, I'm the biggest whore in town.
Right. But you have a whole child on the way.
Exactly. And she was like, you know what, Shiro, it's all right. Sign your name and I'm gonna sign my name and we out of here.
Exactly. So she was like, that'll be that. We don't have to deal with each other no more.
Yeah, exactly.
So, so I can't believe that. But anyway, society, because it happens like that
Yeah.
in real life.
Real talk. For real,
Yeah.
like they label a male can go out here and be hoeing around, but as soon as a female do it, she call every name in the book.
They be having whole families.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, they signed the paper. I'm glad you added that because that was important.
Yeah.
Um, so then she's like, I need to move out. I need to get a job, whatever. So she goes to this coffee shop to apply. I don't know how the friends knew, but they knew her
They knew
name,
her
and so
name. The JK knew her name.
right. So she applied. I don't know, like I'm missing some things. So I can't remember how he
So
knew
she
to ask Kobe.
so she was at the bar at Hobie's restaurant and JK was sitting beside her and he figured out her name. And she, in some type of way, he figured out she put an application in. But he also figured, oh no. What happened was is Taeyong was in a bad place. They thought she
Right.
was still married, and they ended up figuring out what her name was. They knew her name, but now they figured out this girl is the name.
Oh, right, and that she's no longer married.
Right, and that she was talking about how she wasn't married anymore. As soon as JK figured that out, and that she had put the application in, he went to Hubby. He was like, "Pull this application right now,
And hired
hire
her.
her now." And so what we didn't know is Hubby was looking at it weirdly.
Right. So this is wild. Ends up he ends up, I thought there was gonna be, anyway, so he ends up hiring her, and she comes in, and he's like kind of taken by her, right?
Because she's
So you're just
beautiful.
like, oh, here we go, here we go. I knew this was about to be some mess. Like, now it's gonna be the two of them fighting over this girl. Lord. So she gets the job, she's like working or whatever, they have like small talk, and somehow like but her and Taeyong still aren't talking. So she doesn't realize that the guy that she works for is a guy from the picture until like later on. So JK ends up setting up this thing so that Taeyong and the girl can meet up at the cafe. Hobie's like completely against it, because come to find out, he actually has feelings for the girl. And so he didn't want to take no parts in it, because he's like, for one, I feel some type of way, and for two, like, we should just let it happen naturally, but whatever, we'll get this out. But that comes out later on.
Right, but JK knew that she was spiraling at this point. That Taeyong was spiraling. And not only that, at that point, they had already figured out about his mom and all this stuff, too. And he was going through it.
So they set it up where she gets locked in some area of the shop, and then Taeyong comes in, and they're sitting in there talking to each other in the dark. So they don't know that they're speaking with one another. And so they're kind of sharing these stories, and he says something that she's said to him before, and they realize that they're talking to one another. And so they're like kissing each other, holding each other and stuff like that. And then then Hobie comes in and it was like, "Are y'all good now?" So then she feels some type of way again.
Because she's like, "You didn't set this up."
Right, and he's like, no, I had no idea.
It took them 20
really
hours
no
to figure out that they was each other.
Right. It was like, so she runs out. He's trying to go after her, but he's like pissed at Hobie. And by the time he gets out, she's gone. So he goes and looks for her, and he's like,
because Hobie
told him,
because he was mad at Hobie for doing that. And he was like, Hobie was like, "You making up all these excuses and talking all this big time. Why you sit here and let her run out this door? How about go find her?"
Yep. So he goes after her. I think she went to Jisoo's house, and they talked, and they had sex.
With the door locked.
Things were
wide open. Oh no, that wasn't the part.
Oh yeah, no. So they had sex, and then like things were like okay. So I guess they kind of decided to be like boyfriend and girlfriend at this point, because she's no longer married. He's like, all right, I'm gonna do the best I can, but I don't know how to be a boyfriend, like, for real. So he sets up this amazing ass date. It was so cute. Such a cute date. So they go on this date, everything's cool, and he's like, man, I really need to like tell her what's going on with my home situation. So eventually he builds up the courage to go to bring her to his house and introduce her to his mom. So they meet. She loves the girl. The girl's like, yeah, I'm gonna do what I can to help, things like that. And that's kind of like, they kind of do that for a little bit. But then, and she's like, really
down at the house, honey. Remember, they go on that date, and then they go back to the house and they have sex at the house with the mama there. But she was real loud.
Oh yeah,
and she was loud. She forgot that the mama was staying there. He had already told her the mama was staying there by then.
Yeah. And then she was all embarrassed in the morning or whatever, but I mean, it already happened.
And then so she helped her mama make breakfast and all this stuff. And her mama ended up like just loving her, falling in love with her. She was just so happy because her son was happy, which he had been miserable forever.
Exactly, and she's seen it happen. So the girl's sitting there taking care of her and trying to be there for him and all that stuff. And the mom is, the mom's kind of like deteriorating, but she's still helping out. And it gets to a point where the girl is helping. I'm skipping a lot, but it's fine. The mom needs to take a bath, and so the girl Tay sleeps, so she wakes up to go help the mom take a bath. She's like getting her together, and Tay comes in the bathroom, and instead of being like, "Thank you so much," he goes off
on her because he's like, "You shouldn't have to be doing this. I need to be doing this." Because at that time he wanted to be back close with his mom because he knew he had been treating his mom like dirt the whole time.
Exactly. He's trying to like, yeah, he's trying to like atone for how he's been treating her and make up for
Because
the
I
time
don't think
because
we
he knows
added
that he
that
doesn't
into
have
the
much.
story that he had been really treating her bad because of he been holding on to that by his mama cheating on his dad forever. So he treated her
Exactly.
bad, like he's taking care of her, but he talked junk to her too.
Yeah, he did. He used to talk a lot of
Mm-hmm.
mess to her, and so he pretty much tells her like if you feel like you're gonna do if you which was weird, if you feel like you're gonna take care of her instead of me, then we can just break up now or
It
something
was
like
weird
that.
because
I'm
he
like,
didn't he felt like she shouldn't have had to be doing that. Like he wanted to do it, and he didn't want her into yeah.
his mess,
He didn't
like,
want his
yeah.
mess to be on her. And in a weird
Mm-hmm.
way, she was like, I want to help. And he was like, no, I don't want you to help. And if you're going to help, you can just see your way out the door now.
Right. And she was just like, wow, we're really doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then she starts walking out the door and she turns around and is like, look, you said you're going to do anything to make me happy. And what makes me happy is you. So shut it up,
Yep,
sir. Let me do my thing and let's get
exactly.
past this. And then that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
that. So they're going through their day to day. Things are going well, but the mom is getting sicker, and there gets to a point where she gets like really really sick, and they end up having to take her to the
Right.
hospital.
Like she started talking up
Tay's a
blood. She
mess.
started coughing up blood on like a day that they were
Mm-hmm.
like just hanging out at the house, and she was like looking for that picture of her, but she didn't know what the picture was, but the mama knew what the picture was.
Mm-hmm.
And the mama started coughing up blood,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when she like froze and kind of blacked out, and he was like, call the ambulance.
Right, and she was too busy on the
Right.
floor. And so she wakes up, she's in the bed, her head hurts, and he's trying to take care of things, and they got to take her to the hospital eventually. And
That's when I think they
um
decided that he was like he kind of broke down to her and told her how he felt, and she was like, you need to go take care of your mom.
right, so they didn't see each other for a cool little minute because he was really taking time. He stopped
Mm-hmm.
going to work. He just started taking care of his mom, and they didn't really see each other like that, but his friends came over and they like kind of did shifts to help him
Right.
out as well.
Which was
And
so
it
weird.
got
Like
to a
he
point
didn't
where
want her to help, but he let his friends help.
right, right, it was really, yeah, that
Yeah.
whole thing was weird. And then eventually somebody comes and gets her so that she can come to the
Mm-hmm.
house.
No, I think it was
And I don't
Hobie
really
that was like,
remember.
"You need to calm down," because Taeyong was
Mm,
in a bad place again. Like he was feeling so bad because he
yeah,
treated his mama bad so many years. She was like actually dying at this point,
dying. Yeah.
and his friends was coming back and forth, and then when all the friends came over, he was in the bed crying with Jimmy, and then he kind of fell asleep. Hobie came in, and because Hobie came in late, she still was working at the restaurant, at Hobie's restaurant. So,
Yeah.
right. So
Lord.
Hobie came in, and he was like, "Can you just lay with him for a minute? I need to go pee." So when he laid with him for a minute, like Hobie in the bed with him, y'all. Wait for this. Hubby in the bed with him, comforting him. Taeyong's knocked out sleep. And, and
Knocked
Hubby
out.
reaches over and kisses him and confesses his love without him hearing. For
For
Taeyong, not
Taeyong.
even hearing nothing. Like, nobody heard nothing. But guess who walked in? My boo. JK.
JK walks in the door and was like,
Yep,
I
I
should have
knew the whole
known.
time. So, and then that's when JK was like, "What are you doing? Like, we got them back together. Why are you doing this?" He's like,
He
"I'm
fine.
in love with both of them," and he was like shocked.
He said the whole reason he was against all of that is because he loves them both, and it's really hard to be in love with somebody that never loved them back, let alone them being your best
Oh,
friend and
poor
all this other
Hobie.
stuff. And so JK was like, "Yeah, I get all that.
Mm-hmm.
However, now is not the
Exactly.
time.
It is not the time.
It's not the time."
You say all this is going on, and you want to put your input? No,
Right.
it have got way too
No,
far.
this is not it. Right. He's getting better. You know, his mama's sick and dying. He got this girl, she upset. Now you want to sit here and try to confess your love? You better go sit down somewhere.
I was like, oh my God, is this a whole nother story?
I know. And you know what though? After that whole
Yeah, that was
situation,
it.
that's it. Like you don't really
Mm-mm.
hear about that anymore. which I knew was going to be a thing. Like, I just
I
knew there's
know.
going to be
And
a
when I
longer
was
story,
messaging
but
you, I
that
was
was
like,
it.
I got a feeling Hobie got something going on.
I was feeling that way,
Mm-hmm.
but it
Mm-hmm.
just ended. I mean, like he didn't have nothing else came
But
from it
that's
at the end
because
of
the
the
author said
story.
that she's going to write another story that implements that part into a hobby.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where that's gonna go because of how the
Right.
story ends. But yeah, so that all happens. Um, at a point, his mom does end up passing away, and he's a wreck
Mm-hmm.
after that. And so the girl's trying to be there for him. His friends are trying to be there for him, doing the best they can to kind of get him through it. And it just takes time with those type of things. And so he doesn't he ask her to move in with
Yeah,
him?
before the mom dies and gets like super sick, the mom was already asking her to move in anyway. And then, yeah,
Yeah, she
because she
really
really
likes
liked her,
him.
but then she got all sick and all that stuff happened. And then the day of the
Mm-hmm.
funeral, was it the day of the funeral? She was like going over there. He went to her, or it was either the day she died. I don't know, but they had sex that same day with the door
They
open. It
sure
was either the
did.
day of the funeral or the day that she died. And he,
I think it might have been the day of
I think he was coming to
the
get her for the
funeral.
funeral, boo.
Yeah, and was it Jimin
No,
that walked in on him?
no, they was he went to go pick her up from the house, and
Oh, he
she
went to go
was
pick her
living
up.
with
Okay, just kidding.
Jisoo, and
Oh,
Jisoo was
Jisoo, yeah,
there, and they like had sex with the door wide open, honey, like
exhibitionist.
with the door wide open. But she never, the friend never said nothing. But I bet you it was good just to feel like you're gonna get caught.
Right, right, right. So yeah, so the mom, when she told them to move, or was to ask her to move
Mhm.
before she had passed, she kept kind of hinting like, um, you know, you're gonna make a good wife for my son, or something like that, or I wouldn't be surprised if he has a ring for you already, or he'll
Mhm.
propose to him, something like that, to that effect. So like she kept kind of mentioning it, which was like the girl was like, oh
Mhm.
my gosh, okay, but he told her, wait, am I messing up
No,
stories?
he
I
asked
don't
her
know.
to.
He told
Yeah,
her
but he
he
asked
loved
her to
her,
move
right?
in that day when they had sex in the friend's house.
Right, but didn't he? But didn't they? Didn't he kept telling her he loved her? She hadn't said it to him yet, or is that a
I
different
think they
story?
had already been saying they loved each other by then.
Okay, just kidding. Um,
so,
so
so
yeah,
after that, they
so
kind of moved in with each other, and all this stuff was happening, and they was just like really close and lovey dovey on each other. It had been a good year by then.
yeah, and so they were planning to have like an anniversary because they've been together this whole time. He's actually kept his practice like up in
He
up
was
to code,
actually
I guess you
being
could
a
say.
real sex therapist
A
without the
therapist.
sex, which I would have been like, you gotta
Right.
find another.
So I know but he just loved her to death, and he just worshipped the
Right,
ground that she walked on, and he would have never done what he had been doing in the past just because he really just truly loved and
right.
appreciated that woman. So I, but I'm with you. I'd have been like, maybe like maybe be a delivery
Maybe you can still be a sex
driver or
therapist, but you got to
something,
go
or
somewhere else. None of the, but I think he
yeah.
had started just exclusively working with couples at that time, though. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so so they're starting to plan this anniversary party. So they're trying to figure out what they want to get each other. He had already had this idea of what he was going to get her, and she was like, I want to do something cute. And so she decides that she's going to sing him a song. And so he decides that all those pictures that he took of her
Mm-hmm.
that she couldn't find, he's going to make this big like piece
Mm-hmm.
and display it for her. So her homegirl gets her all dolled up, and she's like, I don't really, all right, cool. So she's like extra glam, and he gets dressed, and he's like
Mm-hmm.
kind of casual. And so they're not matching. Oh, we forgot some. Oh,
Yeah,
they
they
each
was
dyed
trying
their
to get
hair, didn't
ready,
they?
and what happened was he was like, "Oh, I want to go get my hair done." He goes to this place, and the woman tells him, "You should dye your hair red." He was like, "Red?" She was like, "Yeah, red." So he does it red. As he does it, he's
Mm-hmm.
leaving, and she sees him walking away,
Right.
but she don't know that that's him. And so she was like, "Oh, I want my
Right.
hair red." And then the woman was like, "Well, I just did somebody hair red." Yeah,
Right, it's
it's
a
like,
popular
and she
color
dyed
today.
her hair red too.
So that's one of their
Right.
other surprises for each other, their hair color, which I think is like an odd
Yeah.
anniversary
So
gift, but
then they
cool.
go to this. They have this anniversary thing at Hobie's restaurant, which I know Hobie was feeling kind of weird about it.
I
So they had this
know.
thing, and he presents her with this picture, and they was all so lovey dovey with each other, but she was kind of sick too. And they find, and then the friend was like, "Are you
Yeah.
pregnant?" And she was like, "No, I can't be pregnant." She was like, She was like, "I'm only a week late," which was weird. I was like, "A week late? She only how she know she pregnant a week late?"
Right. So then, as they're enjoying their time and she's getting ready, I think she was getting ready to sing, and homegirl, the girl that with the two kids and the husband, come busting through the door talking about some. I need to see Taeyong. Let me see him because I got something to talk about. And they're like, "Girl, bye. Like you ain't got nothing to talk to him about. He left you a long time ago." And so he's kind of like, she's kind of going off on the girl. And she's like, "Well, I'm pregnant and I'm 18 weeks, blah, blah, blah." And they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, whatever." She
Yeah,
shows him
which
the
was so
ultrasound. They're like,
crazy
"What the
because he
hell?"
ain't been messing with this girl for forever. And Taylor was about to just sit there and believe it. And his friends was like, "Girl, bye."
Right.
The best
Right.
part was what did Jen say? Yeah,
We been new.
girl, we been
We been new.
when she was like, yeah, because
Right.
all that
He was
stuff
like,
happened.
"No."
She was mad at him, and she was like, "You need to take care of your child if that's your child." And then she ended up saying she was pregnant. He was like, "Are you really pregnant?" The girl we talking about. And then she was like, "Yeah, I'm pregnant or whatever." And then the other girl that he was with the kids was like, "Okay, I ain't pregnant." And Jill was like, "Girl, we been there."
Right. And so she walk out in a huff, looking stupid. I'm like, here
It
she
was
go trying to
so
wreck
funny.
something. And then it was funny. And then somehow Shiro and his girl come
No,
walking
not the
up in
girl
there.
Shiro. Shiro and the girl, and the girl that had the kids was like cahooting with each other.
Oh, just kidding. Okay.
And that's when
So
Shiro
yeah,
was like,
and
"Wait a
yeah.
minute. This whole time you've been talking to her and she been talking to you?"
Right.
And that's when she was like, "You know what? I love this man,
Mm-hmm.
Cheryl. You need to go by your business. I love this man more than I have ever loved anybody in my
Right.
life. I thought I loved you, but I didn't." And Cheryl was like, "Bet." And he left.
Right. He made no drama out of that. He's
Yeah.
like, I understood. I got that. So then they're having this celebration. They're all happy now because it was a tense moment for like
Mm-hmm.
2.5 seconds. So now they're celebrating the fact that it's their anniversary. She is now pregnant and all that good stuff. And was there an
I don't think
epilogue to
so.
this one? I think that was it.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. He asked her to marry him.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And that was pretty much
Yeah.
the end of the story. And it was beautiful and it was great.
It
A
was
lot.
great, but it was a lot happening. There's like a lot of little intricate stories that we didn't
Mm-hmm.
even closely get to. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you guys get the idea. So,
But yeah, that's the end of the
yeah,
story,
girl.
guys.
All right. So, thank you for
Yes,
tuning
we
in for another
promise
episode.
we
This was
will
fun.
try to get another episode to you really soon, but we cannot make promises that's going to be like next week or the week after.
Right, right, right. Yeah, we may have to take a maternity leave with
I am
Lisa.
going to try to
So,
still read and have this baby and get another episode out. I really want to like not take a long time, but who knows, guys, how it's going to be.
yeah. Well, take your time, girl. There is no rush. Like we'll be here. We'll be here. So, guys, keep
Yes.
sending us those recommendations. You can email us at doyoureadbts@yahoo.com. You can go catch us on Instagram or on Twitter. And keep sending those recs. We got some emails recently, so we're just adding them to the list. If you don't hear any like your recommendation soon, it's not that we're not getting
Right.
to it. It's just we have a long list. So we are gonna get to as many as we can as quickly as we can, but we're just kind of doing it based off of like
Mm-hmm.
what we got in first. So yeah, we want
Hey.
to thank you guys again. Stay
Bye.
safe, guys. Bye.